Hi there and welcome back. In this episode we're going to look at what I do in the winter, and some part of what I do is that I clean up and sharpen my garden shears. So what do you need to do this? Well, obviously you need your garden shears. To take them apart you need a screwdriver, perhaps a posit drive depending on the model you're taking apart, and a flat screwdriver. And you also need a wrench, maybe two depending on the model, and at least you need different sizes. To clean them I use steel wool if they're really grimy, but before that I'm mainly using hot soapy water and a sponge. To sharpen them I have a sharpening stone. This one will need to be wetted with water. I need that for the flat side of the blade. And I have this nifty little sharpener from eStore. That's a Swiss company that I use for the angled side of the blade. And then before assembly I'll need a little bit of grease. This is for plumbing fixtures. I don't know, I guess any kind of grease that has no acid in it will do fine. So this is what you need, and let's get cracking. And now I'm going to take apart the garden shears, and to do that first I have to get these screws out of the way. And then you have this part where you have the blades, and you have the nut that tightens it all. And this is where you need your wrench. They do come with a tiny little tool to loosen this, but I kind of don't find that very good. So I'm just using a wrench, and then I can loosen it. And take off the cogwheel that goes with the lock. And the plate here. The base of the blade, and you can really see how dirty this is and slightly rusty. It needs a good cleanup. And of course the blade itself, and look at that, all that grime from sap and what do I know, that's been making it really dirty. So this, and then here, this part, you can obviously take out the screw, and then you have again the other handle. There is this little lock that you can take off as well, and I am going to do that just to make sure I get everything nice and clean. Okay, and there's a tiny little thing here that we need to keep as well. So, and here we go. So everything has been taken apart, and now this is where the hot water comes into play, because these parts that are the most dirty parts, the blades, I'm going to soak them in soapy water. And I am actually going to do that with all the bits. I am going to dry it off very thoroughly. The only part I'm not going to soak is the spring, because it's difficult to get dry and it might get rusty, and I don't want that. And then once it's greased or oiled, I am just going to put it back in. It doesn't seem to be very rusty, but these, if it gets too rusty, you can buy them as spare parts from Felco, and the same goes with the blades, and basically all other parts of a Felco. They will have spare parts on their website or in your garden center, wherever you go. So spare parts are available, and one of the things that you might want to look for as a spare part is the blade here. As you can see, mine is quite worn, and maybe it's about time I replace it, but with a little care and some cleaning, it'll be fine for another season. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and see how much of this grime I can get off just using hot water and a little sponge here. Okay, so I cleaned everything. Now I'm going to dry it off and look how much it needs cleaning with the steel wool. And so this is obviously not clean yet. So I am going to try and see if I can get some more off using the steel wool. I probably should have used a brass brush, but this is what I have. So the steel wool will have to do the job. Let's see what I can get off. Okay, so I have polished this part and I will continue polishing all the other bits, and then I'll get back once I'm going to assemble everything. So I'll just keep on polishing and cleaning. Okay, so everything is now reasonably clean. It took some effort, but not that much. A bit of steel wool, some hot soapy water, and a little bit of time. So I think this is as reasonably clean as I care to make it. And so before I'm going to assemble, I am going to sharpen this bit. And to do that, I have a grinding stone and I have this nifty little tool from Eastor, which is a Swiss company that makes sharpening tools. And the idea with this tool is that you put it in an angle of 30 to 50 degrees on the part of your blade that you need sharpening. In this case, the edge here, and then you just nice and slowly move it across. I can feel this is battered. It has some serious dents, but it will be smoothed. I'm not using a lot of force, I'm just pulling it over, nice and easy. So I'm beginning to feel it's getting sharper. So when I'm doing this, what can happen is that it actually gets a little bit of metal debris on the backside. So I am going to use the sharpening stone after for the flat side of the blade, just to make sure that I don't have any creases or anything on this side. I think this is probably as good as it gets. So this sharpening stone has a coarse side and a fine side. And I don't actually think I'm going to need to use the coarse side. I'm just going to use the fine side. And it does need a bit of water applied. So I am just going to add a little bit of water just to make it moist. Probably more than enough. And then I'm just going to very gently slide it over the stone. Oh yeah, I can feel this is a lot sharper now. I'm just doing it all flat. I think that'll do. And now what I have left is to put this whole thing back together. Okay, so now I need to put it all back together, and this is where the grease comes in a minute. But first I need to do some assembly. This blade, it's kind of self-explanatory because it has these 3 little points that fits exactly with these holes. So this goes there. On the other side, this blade goes here. This one, that will be the lock mechanism. It goes here. And it needs a screw here to keep the blade on the shaft. And then everything goes on top of this over here. And this, exactly, this is where I'm going to put a little bit of grease. Not a huge amount, just a tiny little bit. That was way too much. Just going to use a little bit. I'm going to use it in here. Just a little bit. There we go. And then I'm going to put a little bit in here as well. There we go. And put these together. Now it's beginning to look like something. There we go. There it clicked. So now it's actually clicked on, and I'm going to put the knot on just loosely, because I'm also going to need this little lock here. This little lock here is used to adjust the tension, how tight the clippers are. So that's what you can use this for, and you need to loosen this screw in order to adjust this bit here, because you need to actually lift that little lock up and put it in the right place. But before you can do that, you also need the spring. And for the spring, I'm actually going to add a little bit of the grease, but I think I'm going to try and get it inside the spring instead of on the outside. That might be something I'm going to regret. I don't know. I'm going to try. See if I can stuff it in there. And just get it all around that spring. So, oh dear. Yeah, there. And from the other end as well. Just get it in there to make it a little bit more greased. That was quite dirty on the inside, but I can immediately feel that it feels a lot better. So enough grease. If I need anything else, I might apply a little bit of oil on the spring, but right now it's doing great. So the spring goes back in. There you go. And there you have it. Almost all we need is this little lock that needs to go here to make sure that you can actually lock your scissors in a closed position. So I just need to put that in there, and then we're done. So it's not really that complicated. I know you can send them off to Felco to have them renewed, repaired, refurbished. I don't know. I also know that from Denmark it's a long way to send them off. It takes a long time to get them back. This took me about an hour, including filming it. So I think this is perfect. So there you go. Almost brand new. They feel almost brand new. They're clean. They're ready for the season to come. And if a little grease gets on the blade, that'll be fine. It'll prevent it from rusting. So that's it. that's how you clean and sharpen your garden shears. Thank you and see you next week.